30 seconds to go. Seconds to go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
TFH Kids!
What's cracking?
Listen up. Season 1, episode 33. 33 weeks of this amazing role.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
We got Wes, the producer, on my right. On my right. Am I right? And we got Michaela in the studio.
Yep.
Guys.
Well, I was
Rapper
about to
named
fill.
Micmac song.
I was about to fill in for Carlos,
Hey, why were you trying to take my job?
and then Carlos burst in.
From the ceiling. I was like,
I'm
yo.
here. Where's the party at?
Where's the part? This is the party.
And then he's like, "Do you want me to take your place?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Wes is like, I'll allow it.
I'm not going to tell you next week's substitute.
Ooh. Wes has some tea.
He is sipping.
He's trying to spill some tea over here. Listen
I'll announce
up.
it next week.
We are starting a new 4-week series on, I wanted to say from the old, and then I said on, so I like messed up. From the Old Testament, and it's on David.
Awesome.
I'm excited
That's a
for
good
it.
David and Goliath.
It's more of the story of King David, and like I would assume it's like after.
Yeah.
It's like how
'cause-
unusual it was
yeah.
that who he was and he became
Okay.
a king.
Oh.
So yeah, well,
Well, I know the story of Goliath. So.
yeah. Well,
Everyone.
we're gonna get all the story of David, all the story of King David.
Yay.
But just because it says King David, I don't want to just assume it was like pre-King, like pre-David, pre-King David. Listen, like to see. Hello, how are we? I know who Light the Sea is. She just changed her name. Listen up. We are so excited. Like, I love this new grow. Like,
Yeah.
I just love it.
The new series.
Did you? Well, yeah. Well, did you see the awesome? What was it? It was like the.
It's like an animal thing.
Yeah, but because it funny enough, it was like narwhal, like all these like weird, unusual animals. Because it's trying to like, oh, there's unusual animals, and it was weird. It was unusual.
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 Oh.
Now I'm doubting if I'm saying it correctly. Unusual. Unusual.
Unusual.
Woo!
That's it. Unusual.
So yeah, it was unusual for David to become king. He didn't always get things right.
Yes.
He got things wrong.
The first time.
The first time, he learned
So
from his
many
mistakes.
times.
Yeah. Because remember that point last week? Was it last week?
No. That's take the lead. We're on unusual now. So for the next 4 weeks, we really want to just show how God uses unusual people. Like,
Unusual people.
Unusual.
so I'm going to keep saying unusual.
Please don't.
Anyways, that was an awesome 5-minute countdown. I love the animals. I love the graphics. It gets me so excited. Before I get too far ahead of myself, let's talk about the big idea today. God uses unlikely people It's not unusual. I would have used the word unusual, but since the series is called Unusual, they're going to be like unlikely. Big idea today. Wes, what's the big idea?
God uses unlikely people.
God uses unlikely people.
Or you could just say unusual.
You could, but the big idea uses unlikely. All right.
Could change it up a little bit.
We could. Listen. So it's we're trying to get to know our our unchangeable God and how he does unexpected things through the story of King David. Let's watch this message. She said, AKA Sophie. Hi, Sophie. She said, hi, AKA Sophie. Yeah. Let's shoot on over to this message.
Hooray.
So we can dissect it afterwards.
Hi there, old chicken nuggets. It's me, Carl.
And I'm Andy.
Welcome to Grow TV.
Welcome to Grow TV. Hosted by Carl. Where we have fun with our friends, talk about Jesus, and go over everything the Bible has to offer. Now, once again, welcome to Grow TV.
I can't wait.
Hey, Carl.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
You gonna ask me how I'm doing?
Sure. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited.
Excited? Excited for what?
I thought it was obvious
What?
that I would be searching for the most elusive and sought-after creature on the planet.
Tony the Tiger?
No, of course not. I'm talking about Bigfoot.
Bigfoot?
Yes, Bigfoot. It's now my mission to find him or her.
You mean the mysterious 8-foot creature that lives in the mountains and never been caught?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, even if Bigfoot was real, what makes you think you're qualified to catch such a huge, mysterious, and unusual creature?
How about a letter from the guy who's in charge of the government?
You mean the president?
Yep.
Well, if that was the case, I'd probably believe you, but I highly doubt the president of the United States would ever even... Wait, that letter's from the...
President of the United States asking me, Carl, to lead the search for Bigfoot.
Wow, Carl, I'm blown away. That's, I'm sorry I doubted you. That's crazy.
No worries, Andy. I know it must have seemed pretty unusual. And that's our theme.
Yeah, you definitely pulled a David on me.
Yeah, sure. Wait, a David? What does that mean?
Well, the story of David when he was anointed as king, it was very unusual for many reasons.
Oh, in what ways?
Well, let's look in 1st and 2nd Samuel.
A David was a king, right?
He was one of the most famous.
Well, who was the king before David?
Good question. He was a man named Saul.
Oh, I remember him. He was the first king Israel ever had.
That's right, but unfortunately, Saul was not a very good king. But God was going to give Israel a new king.
All right, well, now it's time for King David. You better watch out, King Saul. There's a new king in town. Well, what do you mean, well?
Well, yes, King David was a warrior, but before he was known as King David the Great Warrior, he was known first and foremost as Young David the Shepherd Boy.
Whoa, really?
He sure was. King Saul was handsome, he was tall, he was a good warrior. He was basically exactly what you think a king would look like.
So you're saying I look like a king?
Yeah, Carl, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Carry on, my little subject.
Well, God told Samuel, one of the prophets, that it was time to anoint a new king.
What does it?
What does anoint mean?
It was a special ceremony type of thing that people would do specifically for people who were picked by God or anointed by God.
Got it. So God told Samuel it was going to be David?
Not exactly. God told Samuel to go to Bethlehem and find a man named Jesse.
Hey, I know someone that was from Bethlehem. It was a name, it was like started with J.
Is it Jesus?
No.
Okay, you keep thinking about it. Anyway, when Samuel got to Bethlehem, he found the man named Jesse, and he found all of his sons, except for the youngest son, and his name was David. But David wasn't there.
What was he doing?
Like I said before, he was a shepherd, so that means he was out taking care of the sheep.
Awesome. So what happened next?
Well, when Samuel realized that none of the sons there were the ones that he was sent by God to anoint, he asked Jesse if he had any more sons.
So they went and got David?
They sure did. And when Samuel met David, he knew that he was the one that God wanted to be the next king.
That's so cool. So that's the end of the story?
Not even close. You see, David was around 15 years old when he met Samuel.
Wait, what? 15 years old? A king can't be 15 years old? That's a child. That's a baby boy, Andy.
That's what made this so unusual. Not only was David really young, but he was the youngest son, and he wasn't even a warrior like Saul. He was just a boy who took care of sheep.
And he's going to lead the whole kingdom of Israel?
Yep, and this was just the beginning of the amazing story of King David. He became the greatest king in the Bible and a man after God's own heart.
Jesus.
Oh, right, the greatest king after Jesus, of course, yeah.
No, I remember now. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, so...
No way.
Okay, you're right. But how's that possible? Were they related?
As a matter of fact, Carl, they are, and Jesus was born into the family line of David.
Wow, that's unreal. There's so much about David that I didn't know.
Well, good for you. We'll be talking about David all month long, but you know what, Carl?
What?
You know how I didn't believe right away that you were chosen to be the leader for the search of Bigfoot? Well, people found David being chosen as king to be just as unusual.
I guess I never thought about it like that. David was definitely a questionable choice. It's kind of cool how God chooses people that you wouldn't quite expect to have such important jobs like running the kingdom.
It is very cool. I mean, in the Bible, we see all kinds of people that get to do amazing things for God. People who had no remarkable skills, people who had physical challenges, people without impressive backgrounds, people who might seem unlikely to do great things, but God uses unlikely people.
Amen to that, sister. Wait a minute. That's our big idea. Today's big idea is God uses unlikely people.
So let's say it out loud on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
God uses unlikely people. Yeah. Good job, everyone. Andy?
So I'm curious,
About what?
how do you expect to find a Bigfoot?
Andy, one does not find Bigfoot. Bigfoot finds you.
Okay, and how will Bigfoot find you?
I will be using the Bigfoot call, of course.
Oh, how do you do it?
Let me show you. So basically, you have to put your thumbs kind of like that, you know, gently cup your hand, and you just kind of like it's a tight squeeze, but not like too tight. Just kind of like and you just kind of you open it up a little, and you just go here, Bigfoot, here, Bigfoot.
Well, I don't see how that won't work. Have a good week, kids. See you next time.
Thank you for watching, and tune in next week for a new episode of Pro TV.
So funny.
It's so good.
What's the big idea?
The big idea.
God uses unlikely
uses
people.
unlikely people.
I like the sing-song version.
God uses. Bella would be very upset. She's like, you don't have a singer's voice? I'm gonna need you to not do that again. So God uses unlikely people. Wes, what was the big idea?
God uses unlikely people.
Michaela, do you know what like an underdog is?
Yes.
What is an underdog?
You want me to say what it is?
Sure. I just didn't expect you to say yes.
Because I even
What's an
know.
underdog, Michaela?
It's like someone that you don't like bet on, like someone you don't think is gonna win.
You don't expect them to
Yeah,
win,
but
right?
they win anyways.
So they win. They surprise everyone and
Yeah.
they win. So it's kind of like David. Like no one expected it.
No.
He was the underdog. And God, honestly, if you look throughout the Bible, God loves to use
Yes.
underdogs. He's
Yeah,
like,
he does.
you didn't expect it, but I'm God. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
awesome. And as we get close with God and we like lean in, like God's gonna use us to do great things. Because I know, like, I'm an underdog.
Yeah.
You don't expect me to win, but I win. I'm very competitive when we're talking about.
Yeah, you will.
Anyways. God uses unlikely people, like Carlos. So yeah,
Yes, he does.
hear me
So
out.
are the motions.
Emotions. That. This.
And then a star.
No. I know what you're talking about. The memory verse, right?
Yeah.
Great segue. Great segue, Wes. Let's talk about the new monthly memory verse. It goes like this. Let's pop it up. It says, the memory verse.
Oh, this one's a good one.
This is the point. Oh, you don't have it? I'll read it, but we'll have it next week. How's that sound? All right. So the memory verse says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." That's Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8. We have a really cool graphic too. It's all good. Camera on the crew. Woo! Oh. All right, listen. I couldn't hear you for a second, Wes. Can you say that again?
Get a camera for James.
That's all we need. One more camera for James.
James is the only one that escapes the torture.
So, hear me out. Big idea. God uses unlikely people.
Hooray!
We have a new memory verse. We have a new 4-week series. You need to join us. Michaela, let's end this in some prayer.
Okay. Dear God, thank you for making us all unique. You have placed something special in each and every one of us. Forgive us for not seeing that in one another as we should. Help us to love our appearance. We know you can do amazing things in unlikely ways. Amen.
Amen. That is episode 33. You guys have a wonderful week, and we cannot wait to see you next week.
Maybe not Carlos.
Pineapple.